My friend, I've met so many patients in their 60-year-old and 70-year-old who one day suddenly ask me a question that sounds simple, yet lingers in my mind long after our conversation ends. James, why are my blood vessels getting weak so quickly? It's not like I eat terribly. And I always tell them gently that the body is rarely harmed by one big mistake, but by the small choices repeated every single day, the foods that seem harmless, yet slowly thicken, narrow and weaken the blood vessels over time. Blocked arteries don't appear overnight. They build quietly, patiently through every unbalanced meal, every food loaded with unhealthy fats, every extra spoon of sugar, every snack eaten just for fun. All of it becomes a weight your heart must carry. I still remember Patrick, 72, who always insisted he ate pretty healthy until the day he developed chest pain and underwent an angiogram. He sighed and said, James, I had no idea the foods I eat every day were betraying me. But the truth is, food doesn't betray anyone. Food simply does what it does. Our job is to understand which foods are friends to our arteries and which ones are the silent enemies. In today's video, I want to share with you the foods that quietly clog the arteries, foods you may be eating every day without realizing they could be paving the way to stroke, heart attack, high blood pressure, and other serious problems. Not to scare you, but to help you understand your body and to give you the power to protect the heart that has carried you through your entire life. Food number one, processed meats, the quiet tighteners of your arteries. My friend, after many years in this profession, I've learned this truth. The most harmful things aren't always loud or obvious. Sometimes they're the foods we know best, the ones we trust without thinking. And processed meats, bacon, sausage, ham, deli meats are a perfect example. I remember David, 72, a disciplined man who ate a little bacon every morning. When I asked him why, he smiled and said, James, I've eaten it since I was young. It makes my morning feel right. But his test results told another story: stiffening arteries, rising LDL cholesterol, and signs of deep silent inflammation. Processed meats are loaded with saturated fats, cholesterol, salt, and preservatives. These don't harm you immediately, but they build up day after day, slowly thickening and hardening the blood vessels, like a wide road slowly filled with layers of mud until barely anything can pass. The danger isn't in the speed, it's in the silence. You eat them today, nothing happens. You eat them next week, still nothing. But inside, the arteries are changing in ways you cannot feel until the day they send a signal you can't ignore. I once asked David if a small change today could give you another 5 to 10 healthy years. Would you make it? He nodded. And I believe you listening to me right now are just as strong. Cutting back on processed meats isn't about giving up flavor. It's about choosing more years, more health, more peace for your heart. Food number two, bacon and processed meats, the quiet injurers of your arteries, my friend. Some things win our hearts the moment we smell them, and bacon is one of them. That aroma brings back memories of family breakfasts, busy mornings, and the comforting thought of something delicious and familiar. But sometimes the things that comfort us the most are the very things that harm us the most. I remember Daniel, 72, who once told me with a hint of sadness, James, I know bacon isn't good, but it makes me feel young. I didn't judge him. I simply said something I want to say to you as well. Not everything that brings us joy is something our body can handle long term. Bacon, sausage, ham, all these processed meats contain high amounts of saturated fat and sodium. They make the arteries tighten, increase pressure on the vessel walls, and quietly contribute to plaque buildup. One strip of bacon won't harm you, but decades of repetition is what fills the house with dust until you no longer recognize how heavy it has become. More concerning are nitrites and nitrates, preservatives that give processed meats their color and long shelf life. Inside the body, these can turn into compounds that damage blood vessels and significantly raise the risk of strokes and heart attacks. I still remember the day Daniel returned after 3 months of dietary changes. He placed a hand on his chest and said, James, I breathe easier now. I feel lighter. And in that moment, I knew the body always responds when we treat it with kindness. My friend, if you love your arteries, love them with thoughtful choices. A little restraint today can give your heart many peaceful years. Food number three, processed meats, the sweet-talking but dangerous threat to your arteries. My friends, some foods look harmless, even friendly, simply because they've been part of our lives for so long. But familiarity doesn't make them safe. Processed meats, sausage, bacon, ham, canned meats are exactly that. Convenient, tasty, reliable, but quietly destructive to your arteries. I remember a conversation with Robert, 72. He said, "James, I live alone. Breakfast sausage is quick and easy, and honestly, it tastes good." He was gentle in spirit, but his body had been signaling distress for years. High blood pressure, high LDL cholesterol, and sudden unexplained chest heaviness. I told him softly, "Robert, some things don't hurt us right away, but they take a little piece of our health every day." Processed meats contain salt nitrates, preservatives, and saturated fats, ingredients that spark silent inflammation in the blood vessels. It's like a tiny leak in a steel pipe, quiet and visible, but relentlessly corrosive. When nitrates and nitrites break down, they can damage the elasticity of the arteries. And without that elasticity, blood pressure rises, and the risk of blockage becomes very real. Robert switched his morning sausage for boiled eggs and fruit. 6 weeks later, he returned with relief on his face. "James, I really do feel lighter. I never thought such a small change could make such a big difference." My friend, I know life is busy and convenience feels necessary, but sometimes convenience today becomes risk tomorrow. If you're waiting for a sign to change, this is it. Your arteries are asking for kinder choices. Food number 4, deep fried foods. The familiar but dangerous silent killers of your arteries. My friend, deep fried foods carry memories of youth, of busy days, of quick meals on the go. Crispy, fragrant, comforting. But they are also one of the most powerful contributors to arterial blockage I have seen in my entire career. I remember Patrick, 72, cheerful, lively, and a lover of fried foods. He once said, "James, I know it's not healthy, but a little fried food now and then won't hurt." I looked at him and gently replied, "Patrick, it's not the one bite. It's the thousands of bites over decades that we must be careful with." Deep fried foods are full of trans fats and oxidized oils, ingredients your arteries absolutely do not like. They slip into the arterial walls and stick there like dust, coating an old door that becomes harder and harder to open. Over time, that dust thickens, hardens, and narrows the passageway, just like a familiar road slowly closing in. And the scariest part, your body rarely warns you right away. You keep eating, keep feeling fine, until one day the chest heaviness, dizziness, or shortness of breath arrives like an alarm clock that was silent for years and suddenly rings loud. There was another time when Margaret, 68, spoke to me in a low, sad voice, "James, it wasn't until I had a minor blockage that I realized the real danger was right there in my own kitchen." My friend, I'm not telling you that you must give up fried foods forever, but I do want you to ask yourself, how long has my body been putting up with this? Sometimes just a small change, eating less fried food, choosing steamed, boiled, or baked instead, it is enough to help your blood vessels breathe easier, feel lighter, and stay stronger in the years ahead. 5. Fried foods, the silent poison wrapped in a familiar crispy crust. My friend, there are foods we fall in love with as children, but as we age, we need to look at them with wiser eyes. Fried foods, fried chicken, French fries, egg rolls, fried pastries belong in that group. They're delicious, crispy, golden, fragrant. So tempting that we forget to ask, what is my body actually paying for this flavor? I remember Raymond, 72, a cheerful man who had loved fried foods ever since his days as a factory worker. He laughed and told me, "James, if it's not fried, it doesn't taste good to me." But one day he came in with significant narrowing in his carotid arteries. When I asked about his eating habits, he sighed, "I think I've ignored my body for too long." Fried foods are full of trans fats and oxidized oils, substances that create low-grade long-term inflammation, raise bad cholesterol, and speed up the hardening of the arteries. That's why people don't feel pain right away. But years later, they discover their blood vessels are no longer open and flexible like before. I often tell my patients, it's not one fried meal that knocks you down in a day. It's the slow, quiet draining of your health, bite by bite, year after year. When Raymond switched to baking, steaming, pan-searing, or using an air fryer, he came back looking more relaxed. He said, "James, I thought I'd miss that deep-fried flavor a lot, but I've realized feeling healthy matters more. My friend, I'm not asking you to completely erase fried foods from your life. I simply want you to understand that sometimes the things that make your mouth happiest are the things your arteries struggle with the most. And if you start cutting back on fried foods today, your blood vessels will quietly thank you sooner than you think. 6. Instant noodles, the convenient meal that quietly steals vascular health. My friends, some foods are not inherently bad until we start eating them too often. Instant noodles are one of the most silent culprits I see in many older patients at my clinic. I remember Raymond, 72, who lived alone after his wife passed away. His meals became simpler, quicker, and mostly revolved around instant noodles. One day he said to me, "James, I thought noodles were just something to fill my stomach. I didn't realize they were pulling my health down this fast." What makes instant noodles so dangerous for your blood vessels is the extremely high sodium content, more than your body can safely handle, especially as you age. Sodium doesn't just raise blood pressure, the biggest risk factor for stroke, it also makes the vessel walls tense, less elastic, and more fragile over time. On top of that, the seasoning packets often contain saturated fats and trans fats, quiet contributors to higher LDL bad cholesterol, which slowly form plaque inside the arteries day after day, until one day it's no longer just noodles. Another patient of mine, Sylvia, 68, once exclaimed, "I thought eating noodles a few times a week was harmless, until you told me my arteries were already narrowing." She didn't feel pain, she didn't feel particularly sick, but inside her blood vessels were straining every single day. My friend, I'm not saying instant noodles are the enemy, but our bodies, especially after 60, can no longer tolerate that much hidden salt and fat without consequence. If possible, treat instant noodles as an occasional choice, not a regular habit. Your blood vessels deserve better foods that nourish, not slowly erode your health in silence. 7. Fast food, the quiet thief of health, hiding in quick meals. My friend, in all my years of practice, there's one sentence I've heard over and over from older patients: "James, I only eat fast food when I'm busy. It's not that much. And I understand life sometimes forces us to rush. But that very rush opens the door to a silent culprit. Fast food." I remember Martin, 67, a gentle man who loved long drives. He told me that every time he traveled, he'd stop at a fast food place near the highway, quick filling, convenient. But when we checked his health, his arteries were thickening, his bad cholesterol was rising, and his blood pressure was becoming more unstable. I told him, "Martin, it's not what you eat in one day. It's the habit repeated over months and years that we have to worry about." Fast food is often loaded with trans fat, salt, and hidden sugars. These ingredients act like tiny grains of sand, sticking to the artery walls, gradually narrowing the passageway. No pain, no obvious warning, just quiet progression until one day the body speaks up with chest pain, shortness of breath, or something worse. The danger lies in how normal it all feels: easy to buy, easy to eat, filling, and socially accepted. But beneath that convenience, your arteries are working harder than you realize. I told Martin, and today I want to say the same to you. Your body doesn't complain right away, but it remembers everything. Every small food choice you make today can shape the condition of your blood vessel 10 years from now. My friend, your arteries are like the roads that carry life to every corner of your body. They need to stay clean, open, and flexible if you want to truly enjoy the years ahead. The foods we've talked about today don't usually cause sudden disaster. Instead, they quietly wear you down like water dripping on stone day after day. Notice early, change early. That is the greatest gift you can give your heart.